What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. We're starting out Week 7 predictions with a Group of 5 matchup. It is being played on a Friday, so we're going to get it out of the way, get it done first, but it's a very, very important matchup in the American Athletic Conference. You got the Group of 5 champion from a season ago, the Tulane Green Wave, traveling on the road to play in Memphis, Tennessee against who else? The Memphis Tigers, also in that conversation for a New Year's 6 bowl game spot. Likely an elimination game for that spot. Should be a fun one from Memphis. We're going to dive into it here in just a little bit. But before we get there, I just have to thank all of you guys for the support the channel has seen as of late. Biggest way to help support me, if you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when videos get uploaded. But there are more ways than that to help me support this channel. You guys are doing one of them right now just by watching this video. And you guys can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, really anything else you guys may be willing and or able to do to help me support this channel. But with all of that out of the way, guys, let's go ahead and dive on in. I'm going to be doing a lot of Group of 5 game predictions. We got some really, really big ones coming up this week. I know Wyoming and Air Force is a game I'll be doing. Hey, maybe even James Madison and Georgia Southern could be another game. I wanted to do Liberty and Jacksonville State. Again, did not have time to get that video out. Liberty did end up winning that game yesterday, though. They did end up pulling that one out. But we're going to talk about a big one that's going to take place Friday in the American Athletic Conference. Should be a very, very fun matchup to watch. And again, we are going to start, as we usually do, talking through the stats, looking through the stat sheet, look and see what both of these teams have put up so far this season. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Tulane Green Wave offense that, well, Michael Pratt was out for a pretty lengthy period of time, but Michael Pratt is back, and when he is at the helm of this Tulane Green Wave offense, it is a different animal than when Horton there is the quarterback manning this offense, right? When it is Michael Pratt, he's got 668 yards, 8 touchdowns, only 1 pick this year, and has only been sacked 4 times. Meanwhile, Kai Horton, 485 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, 7 sacks, and then when you compare the completion percentage, Michael Pratt's a full 25 percentage points better than Kai Horton is throwing the ball. If Michael Pratt gets to play in this game, which I believe that he will, it is just a different beast. They've got a lot of great weapons on the outside. It starts with the former Notre Dame transfer Lawrence Keys, among many other players that are back there as well. Mekhi Hughes is really taking over that run game. Has not been as good as Tajee Spears, but again, you don't really expect him to be, right? 368 yards, 3 touchdowns for him. But this is a team that maybe doesn't have an interception problem. Again, Michael Pratt's only thrown 1 pick this year, but 7 fumbles on the season. That is the majority of those 10 turnovers. You've got to hold on to the football against this Memphis defense, and you got to protect the quarterback. Tulane is giving up 11 sacks here. That's 2.2 per game. It's a Memphis team that is averaging the exact same numbers. You got to be able to protect the quarterback here if you are the Tulane Green Wave. But when we move over the defensive side of the ball for this Tulane team, I mean, they got a lot of dudes here on this defense. Lance Robinson's leading this team with interceptions. He's got 3 of them. A lot of other workhorses in this defensive back room that are going to be really, really key against the Seth Hennigan-led offense that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but that can be very explosive. But the defense has really keyed in on the run game this year. It's a run defense that was fantastic last year. It's a run defense that has continued to be fantastic this year, and they have not played bad running backs at all. I mean, you go back and look at that game against Ole Miss. Yes, Quinshon Judkins wasn't really firing on all cylinders, but they still were able to limit what he was able to do, and even when Jackson Dart was able to get us out of the pocket, they did a pretty good job at limiting him, at limiting the damage that Dart was able to do with his legs there as well. So this is a Tulane defense that, yes, while the secondary can improve on limiting teams driving down the field, this is a rush defense that's absolutely phenomenal. They're forcing turnovers, they're a pretty solid third down defense, and they're generating pressure to the quarterbacks. So it's a secondary that, yes, while they're forcing takeaways, maybe are going to need to step up a little bit here, because when you take a look at this Memphis team, it is led by probably one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the American Athletic Conference in Seth Hennigan. 68% completion percentage, 1,376 yards, 10 touchdowns. Does have 5 picks. You'd like to see him cut back on that number as well, and he has been sacked 10 times. So you'd like to see the offensive line do a little bit of a better job at protecting him. But it doesn't just start with Seth Hennigan and this group of wide receivers. That includes some names like Rock Taylor, Demir Blankhamsey and this other one here by the name of Blake Watson. Well, Blake Watson's a pretty solid running back there as well, averaging almost 6 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns, 455 yards, and again, he is the third leading receiver on this team. They like to run a lot of check down routes to him to really be able to space some teams out, to be able to get him on the perimeter. So it's a team that's able to do it all. Offensively. Yes, you'd like to see Seth Hennigan cut back on the interception numbers. That's also going to be key against the Tulane defense that, again, has forced 11 turnovers so far this year and protects Seth Hennigan better. Both these teams can do a better job up front on the offensive line. Now, defensively for Memphis, maybe not as good as what we've seen out of the Tulane Green Wave, but this defense has stepped up in some pretty key moments and has played pretty well. Yes, they are allowing teams to drive down the field, but when this defense gets into third down, they're only allowing teams to convert 23.8% of their third down tries. They are forcing turnovers. They got 8 turnovers on the year. They're being able to generate enough pressure to the quarterback to make them feel uncomfortable, averaging 2.2 sacks per game here. So this is definitely going to be a very interesting showdown here when you compare both of these offenses to both of these defenses, because and back to the conversation about the Tulane Green Wave, this is the defensive front that we know is going to dominate the Memphis line of scrimmage. Just given what Memphis has done so far this year, given what Tulane's defensive front is capable of, it's a defensive front that I'm pretty confident will be able to work its magic. But can the secondary step up? Can it defend Seth Hennigan? And can this Memphis defense stop Michael Pratt in this Tulane offense? Are just some of the things to watch for, but we're going to dive in to the actual things to watch for. This is my actual what to watch for, keys to the game, just some things that I think that we should keep an eye on, or that you guys should keep an eye on while you are watching this game if you happen to tune into this one Friday night. Michael Pratt faces a very, very tough Tiger secondary, and I mean really, really tough. This is a this is a Memphis secondary that, taking a look at the stats here, only has 2 interceptions on the season, but 21 pass breakups. One of those interceptions did go for a pick 6, and there are a ton of members throughout this defensive back 7 that have been able to force and recover fumbles. So this is a group of wide receivers for Tulane that's going to have to help Michael Pratt out a little bit. That's going to have to create some space, create some separation, and get open. But what did I just talk about? This is a Green Wave team that the run game, I think, is going to flourish. I think this is a Tulane run game offensively that's going to end up performing really, really well. I think it's going to be able to set the tone really nicely, but you can also transition that to the defensive run game as well for Tulane. Their run defense, I think, is also going to show up and really be able to dominate the line of scrimmage here, and it's going to do more than just stop the run. It's going to get to the quarterback. It's going to get Seth Hennigan's jersey dirty, right? Tulane's going to generate its fair share of negative plays here in this game. They just are that good on the defensive front. But we're going to find out how good this Tulane defense really is. There were times where it showed up and played really, really well in their high-profile game this year against the Ole Miss Rebels. And then there were times where it did not look so great. And that's kind of been the theme for Tulane's defense throughout this year. The run defense has been consistently good. This is more of a question for the secondary. Can it step up? Can it defend Seth Hennigan and these wide receivers that Memphis bring to the table? But speaking of Seth Hennigan, now we get into the keys for Memphis. In order to have success, Hennigan has to be prepared for everything. This is a Tulane defense, especially up front, on the defensive front, that loves to do a lot of shifting, that loves to give the offense a lot of different looks that make it very, very hard to read. So this is a Memphis team, and especially with Seth Hennigan, that yes, this is the secondary I feel like is going to step up and have their best game of the season so far. Memphis and Seth Hennigan have got to be ready, got to be prepared for everything. Blitzes are going to come from all angles. They're going to play a heavy combination of zone, heavy combination of man. This is a very tough Tulane defense to plan for. Hennigan, and especially his offensive line, have got to be ready. Defensively for Memphis, it's all very, very simple. Create pressure, get Michael Pratt on the floor. Do not let this Tulane run game get going, and force the takeaways, right? Tulane's defense is really, really good at that as well. Tulane's defense has forced, I believe if you go back to that previous slide, 11 takeaways, but punch at the football. This is a Tulane team that has a very tough time holding on to it, especially with fumbles. It's a team that's had sort of a fumbling problem this year. Again, like I said, I believe 7 fumbles so far on the season for this Tulane team. Punch the football, be able to force that takeaway, give Seth Hennigan and the offense an extra possession. I have no doubt in my mind the Tigers are going to control third down. I think offensively, I know the season numbers haven't been as good as Tulane, but I do think that they're going to be able to really control third down. They're in their own building here. And defensively, I think it's going to step up really, really large, and Memphis is going to come up with a couple really big third down stops. However, I just trust this Tulane team more, right? I trust Michael Pratt a little bit more. Again, this is the Friday game, 7 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Tulane is the 3-point favorite. And while I do think you should take the points here if you are the betting type, I am still going to go outright with the Tulane Green Wave. I trust Michael Pratt more. I think this Tulane pass rush is going to be a little bit too much for Seth Hennigan to handle. And at the end of the day, while Memphis may be able to win the turnover battle, which is going to be crucial, and at the very minimum, keeping this game close, I trust the Tulane defense a little bit more. I trust Michael Pratt a little bit more. I think some of the experience on this Tulane team will come forward, and Tulane will walk away with a huge road win and stay alive in the race for a New Year's Six bowl game spot. That's my prediction here. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. And hey, as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Big showdown in the Pac-12 coming up next. Goodbye.